I'm going to start by saying that people who memorize their shit and then they come up here and they kind of freeze up right onto fucking you. Because you know how hard, after all those years of school, how hard it is to memorize that shit and then perform it. Alright, so I'm going to begin with a little bit of background. I'm going to warm up. I do poetry. I also love storytelling, so if you ever need a good bedtime story,
yes.
I'm going to warm up with a poem. Both of these were written for my creative writing class in high school. And this poem, basically, I went to a very small high school. It was 600 students total. And that's 3 towns put together. So, there is a huge diversity. But not too many people that were out and about, as we should say. So I started seeing this girl my senior year, and it was within the first week. And so I was riding this high, and still trying to, find out who I am. And you know how it is senior year. You're just like, trying to piece everything together and kind of starting to get it then. So basically that week, our teacher told us to do another version of this one poem that we read about something that is important to us. And this is while I was riding that high, and I wasn't exactly ready to come out to my school yet. But then I found out that this was actually posted in the hallway and everyone read it, so at that point I was just kind of like, well, fuck it. But it's short, it's sweet, but it has a lot of meaning to me. This is about a week before I decided to fully come out to my school as bisexual. And with that, I'd like to add, I knew I was going to get a lot of shit from straight people and from gay people. Being bisexual means that you're always going to be tagged as that person who wants to have their cake and eat it too. Can't make up their mind, whatever bullshit. It's not about that, it's about loving the person. So, this was my senior year object poem. It's small, palm-sized, my wooden box. Indigo blue and all mine. I normally keep it in my front pocket, but sometimes I leave it at home, in my bed, tucked away. When no one's around, I like to take it out and run my fingers on its smooth edges and carved orange top. I tend to like to keep it hidden, but no, don't be mistaken. It only fills me with pride, sometimes doubt. It represents identity and growth, change and evolution. It represents past and future. It represents me and my opinions and my decisions. It says I can be, say, do, and want anything. It tells me go when society says stop. It propels me towards my chosen dreams when all others look back. It represents men, women, lust, love, pain, regret, strength, courage, confusion, conviction, conclusion. It is my sexuality, and it is me. Woo! Don't be intimidated, it's 14 fonts, that way I can read it. But basically we had to do our own adaptation of a certain story, a certain memory. And so this is my adaptation. It's called, And I Think of Her. On one night, no, several nights, I torched a field. That's right. I set a baseball field afire with deep, blazing flames of passion and love. The way the fire danced ferociously around my car and the way our sweat would steam off our bodies is burned into my memory, and I am embarrassed to recall it as I sit with my son in the same spot years later, feeling nothing but the shiver of my ice cream gives me as I lick frigid chocolate ice cream from a grainy waffle cone. I look over at my son and watch as he viciously finishes off his vanilla kitty cone, unaware of the painful brain freeze he is about to experience. I think about how one day he too will be wrapped up in the magnificent world of love. He will experience the pain, the struggle, the warmth, the happiness, the feeling of floating above the clouds, the fire, and eventually the ice. It pains me to think about it, but it is an experience we all endure. And to stop it would be debilitating his evolution. As my son and I step out of the car to toss a baseball together, I can't help but continue to flash back to those nights. The switch from such strong emotions never ceases to amaze me. My heart would gallop as stop signs and green lights would flash before my eyes, while butterflies in my stomach would flip, flutter, and tumble like clothes in a dry laundromat. Just one more exit till I can look into her bright, sparkling blue eyes, I would say to myself, overcome with anxiousness. I had known her for years. I had been with her for years. But whenever she would call for our nights to begin and the butterflies would be released. Go now is what I would sit and wait for next to the phone, wishing I could hear it every second. Its sound resembling what lilacs would sound like if they could talk. Pouring from her mouth into the receiver, then gush into my ear as I would race to my car. I don't remember much about the baseball field. It was always dark, always night. And for the most part, all I ever saw was her. I look around now at the swaying trees with tiny leaves that flitter in the wind, the vibrant green grass and the granular sand packed from weeks of rain, and the cold gray fence that trims the baseball field. All these things I've never seen before, even though I've been there nearly 40 times. I feel the rough, abused thread that is laced throughout the soft leather of my baseball, but never will I forget the feel of her soft, delicate fingers laced in mine, or the tingle of goosebumps she'd send up my spine when she slid her fingers through my thick hair. I toss the ball to my son and watch as he fumbles to catch it in his tiny hands. I wonder what she's doing right now, if she's ever thought of me, if she remembers, like I do. I stare over at the spot at the end of the parking lot where I would drive through deep puddles, her giggling chest bumping with each bump. The baseball, slow but hard, lands in my hands after my son tried, with valid effort, to drag my attention away from the parking lot. I wonder what he is thinking as he watches his father stare at nothingness. My son, that nothingness is where I spent every Wednesday night for months, pouring my heart out, confessing my love, unplugging the cork of tension that grew every time I saw her in school, knowing the secret must remain hidden. That nothingness is where things would occur that would make a boy of 17 drive home with eyebrows stitched tight and an angry expression and pounding broken heart, wondering how it wouldn't be so bad if our secret was stolen. My son, that boy would spend the miles that lead towards that nothingness thinking about how much he'd gain from it: love, affection, acceptance, pleasure, comfort, only to leave the same spot, only to leave the same way each Wednesday night with foggy windows screaming, "Why? Why?" at the windshield as blurred headlights drive past during a torrent of tears. Not only do I remember the burning sensation that our love brought, I now remember the searing pain. It was not a warm heat. It was a searing cold. It froze my skin and chilled my bones for days. I would sulk in my wintry depression and Arctic aggression after each time she passed me in the hall. Her long, brunette locks that were once held by my hands as she kissed my forehead would bounce and jump and wave with a shine while her sweet aroma grabbed hold of my nostrils and spun me around in circles. The impact of my son's growing strength hits my hands in the form of a ball as I'm pulled back to the present day and time. Dragged out of my nostalgia again, I look to my son and his sweet, innocent face, currently displaying a face paint of vanilla ice cream that I irresponsibly forgot to clean. Does that make me a bad father? At the thought of that, I am suddenly tossed into a world of question, like the ball that lands in my son's hands with a compressed thud. Where is she now? Is she married? Does she have children? Does she think of me? As I'm spanked with a barrage of worrisome inquiries, I look across to the sunlit entrance of the field and see her. Brunette hair still shining and waving. Teeth so bright they steal kisses from the sun. Lips more succulent than ever. The glow of a dream hugging her body like a sports car hugs a tight corner. She is gorgeous and happy, but she is holding the hand of another man. A man I've never met, a man I'll never know. They are happy, smiling, kissing. Suddenly I feel the sharp tinge of reality. I see her in a white dress, white lace showers from her bust to the floor, while red roses sit patiently in a bouquet in her hands. She is crying. Tears of joy run down her face and dive from her chin onto the red carpet that glides from him to her. Does she think about me while she sees him? Are her thoughts of me what propel each tear to their death? Will her memories of me sit forever in that glowing white church, in that dark red carpet on that hard wood floor? Am I just a tear stain on a wedding day? Now I feel jealousy, anger, longing, self-pity, all balling up in my chest like a snowball, tumbling down a hill, gathering spirit, then turning from ice to flame. Just before I'm about to breathe fire, her image changes, and I see her pregnant with his child. He is running his hand across her large belly, imagining his child. Does she think of me? Or have her memories of previous love been erased long ago? I feel my eyebrows knitting together in a frown. I feel regret for not having made her mine. I blame myself for not having made her think of me every day for the rest of her life. My eyes flood with salty tears as I think of her growing old with him. But then I feel harsh pain, but not in my heart, in my face, my eye. It is hot, then it is cold, it is black. I awake and I feel cold, crunchy, fresh-cut grass under my right cheek, and my son's small fingers poke my other cheek. I feel his palm on my back as I hear him indicate with a soft voice, "Dad? Dad? Daddy, you weren't watching." I feel his worried eyes on my face like warm sunshine on a cold day, as I feel subtly icy glares from confused and assumptuous onlooking parents. My face is on fire, and I think of her. Is Cameron here? We should make bedtime stories a late.